Ladies, gentlemen, and all you morally ambiguous champions, as always, I am Cosmic, and today I'm going to be giving you a preview of a game currently on Kickstarter, which is Fable Fortune, which is essentially a CCG game, very in similar vein to Hearthstone, that is going to be a free-to-play game should it make its Kickstarter goal. Now, Fable Fortune, you might say, is that anything to do with Fable? Well, actually, yes, it is. Now, it was a CCG game that Lionhead had been secretly working on alongside Fable Legends, which, of course, both were cancelled with the disillusionment of Lionhead themselves by Microsoft. Obviously, with the shutdown of Lionhead in March, left a lot of people out of work, and those out of work, some of those out of work employees went and created their own studio and decided that they really wanted to see Fable Fortune come to reality and actually ship the game. So they went to Microsoft with kind of half a hope and half a prayer and asked them if they could license the IP out, and Microsoft actually were willingly said yes, and that wasn't a problem. Now, the actual CCG card game was, while it was in Lionhead's hands, was pretty much near completion. We're talking it reached the beta stage. So the Kickstarter is asking for £250,000, which is around $350,000–400,000 US. And they're essentially doing this to finish up the game, polish the game, and being able to afford to ship the game. With the game basically being in a beta stage already, it means that it's mostly feature complete, including several PvP modes, a co-op mode, which I quite like, and various, in-game events, very similar to what Hearthstone has. CCG games kind of seem to be the thing at the moment with, you had Hearthstone, you have Elder Scrolls Legends, you have Chronicles, RuneScape, which is slightly different take, and I quite like the different take that RuneScape has. Now, Fable Fortune is very similar to Hearthstone in its core mechanics, very similar to Magic and that kind of thing. However, there are a couple of features that are quite unique to it and something that I really, really enjoy. It's a nice little spin on the core mechanics in the sense that what they've actually done is they've embedded the morality mechanics of the original Fable games and put that into the card game. So one interesting twist is that cards have essentially the ability to change their morality status from good to evil. So, for example, a standard card, depending on certain things, can become angelic or evil, and that's quite nice. And heroes themselves, the characters that you play, can do quests. There's a quest system in the game. So, for example, one quest is to spend 10 gold, right? So as you play a match, and gold is essentially the resource that you use instead of Hearthstone's mana, and then you spend a certain amount of gold and that completes the quest. Now, once you've completed that quest, not only will you gain a card to pull directly into your hand, but you also get the choice of your hero having a good resolution or a bad resolution to that quest. And depending on which you choose, it will grant you various effects. For example, my character, I like to play the Shapeshifter, which means that my hero attack ability is to rake the enemy. Now, if I choose a evil solution to a quest, that means that ability not only does the 1 damage, but if that damage then kills an enemy, I actually gain health back. And quests will level up as well, so they'll become gradually more and more difficult to do, and thus the rewards and morale resolutions will actually grant more powerful bonuses. This morality mechanic alone interests me enough to stick with it, to be honest. I quite like the Fable universe in a sense. I never was particularly a large fan of the games, mainly because Peter Molyneux always let me down in that regard, because he always built it up way too much and then never delivered on half the things that he promised. But I always did like the charm of the Fable IP. I thought it was a very charming games, and I thought that it did have a lot of potential to expand the universe into other genres. And I think that a Fable CCG is the perfect example of this. I think that it has a wide array of characters to choose from. I really enjoy the way that they actually do the card system in the battles. Instead of just laying flat cards down, you actually get a little 2D pop-ups of the actual monsters and characters that you're playing, and I quite like the art style. I think it's a little, some of the maps are a little drab, shall we say, and I think a little bit more Fable-esque colour and vibrancy could do with going in there, but the actual art design of the characters and cards themselves is really great, and I really enjoyed that, and I think props to them for coming up with an art style that really, you know, resonates with both, you know, normal CCG players and also fans of the Fable franchise. The gameplay itself plays really well and plays as your standard CCG Hearthstone-esque game does. Any players of Hearthstone will be right at home and will be able to dive right into this. If you've never played this type of game before, it is really, really easy to pick up, and the tutorial makes it really easy for Fable as well. So it's a perfect game to kind of dip your toes into in that regard. Now, if you're wondering why they are asking for so much money to complete a game that is basically in beta stage, essentially what they've said is that Microsoft have leased them the IP, but they are not investing in it financially, which means that they want to finish development, obviously, because it's still a handful of, you know, we're talking months and months yet to go in terms of development time. They also want to, you know, have the funds to actually launch the game on Steam, and etc., etc. They do have stretch goals. For example, one of the stretch goals is that they are trying to get 700,000 to develop a Xbox One version. Android and iOS versions will be set to follow it should they reach that goal. So it's one of those games that I think that if you like the genre, you'll be right at home here. If you're a fan of the Fable franchise, you might want to pick this up. I myself do recommend it. I have to say, I'm not one for recommended Kickstarter games because I don't like to tell people to take the risk. So I'm not going to tell you to take the risk. All I will say is that it is a very fun card game in that regard. I myself have backed it, full disclosure. I have backed it now after playing it because I thought I enjoyed it that much that I really do want to see the game come to full fruition and be able to play lots of PvP matches and try and beat everybody, but no doubt I will get my ass handed to me because that is always the way it goes, because I, for the life of me, love CCG card games, but I suck at building decks. I am the worst person at building decks ever. There's just ever. I've, you know, with my Hearthstone various decks, I have a Paladin deck and a Warlock deck that I have been literally working on since launch, and I still get my ass handed to me every single match, and I just cannot build a good deck for the life of me. And everyone keeps telling me, oh, you know, you need to go on guides and look up guides. I don't want to do that. I want to build my own deck and something that I'm comfortable with, and they all suck. So, you know, if you do meet me in game, you're pretty much guaranteed a win in that regard. One minor complaint before I go: I know the game is in completely unfinished state, but they do need to speed up the cinematic for opening packs, because holy crap does that take a long ass time. Even when you press the skip button, it takes a long ass time, and it is so infuriating, like beyond infuriating. So that is my preview of Fable Fortune. Now, I'll leave a link to the Kickstarter in the description down below if you are interested. And thank you so much for watching. Do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you next time.